Welcome to the newest episode of the Needless Things podcast. My guest today, oh my gosh, I've been a fan for so long, Jonathan Davenport. You may know him online as Davenpoe. Dude, what are you doing here?
I am being accepted by my people in real time. I don't look, you're a fan, you can say, sure, but I reached out to you. I wanted to be on this show because I saw what you guys were doing and it lit up something in me. It sparked joy, as they say, and I wanted to be closer to the flame. So thank you for having me.
Well, that's what I'm all about. We're always enthusiasm over expertise. We want to be
It's my
everything
whole
that
career.
we do. Yeah, I would much rather listen to people who love something than listen to people who are experts on something. That's just fun. And that's not to say we don't have plenty of knowledge about plenty of pop culture stuff, but you got to have that fire. You got to have that fire about it. That's what's important. And so the little G.I. Joe something caught your eye, little wrestling something caught your eye. Now, I don't know if you know, though, the last 2 years on Audible Interlude, the G.I. Joe podcast, around Rumble time, we have done a Joe Rumble.
I did not know that. No, I didn't know that.
Each of the three of us pick 10 Joe characters, and we do a real-time Rumble. We treat it like a game. I think last year we actually used dice to determine, like if you roll a 1, you come in and eliminate somebody. If you like, we live played a game of G.I. Joe Rumble, and it's
Who's last year?
And it's you know what? I can't remember who our winners were, but they were both ridiculous because part of the game,
Big Lob.
of the game is right. Well, even Big Lob like would be kind of cool. I'm talking like we'll pick Skidmark and try and push him to the top. Like that's part of the motivation is to see how, because what happens so often, we do a lot of live stuff, and the audience kind of wants to mess with you. So while in your head you're thinking, well, obviously that if we do a best Cobra Trooper, people are going to pick the Battle Android Trooper. They're going to pick the Bat, of course. Yeah. But then like people get all crazy and they start picking like, well, Toxo Viper or, weirder stuff.
Right.
And they'll push that stuff to the top because it's more fun,
That's great.
So anyway, we got to talk. We could talk like 15 more episodes about your work designing wrestling gear. And we're going to talk about the wrestling gear, but we got to go back to the beginning. We got to talk about a little pop culture. We got to talk about influences. Most artists I talk to are from when you were a kid. You're drawing, you're creating. Same deal?
Yeah, 100%. In fact, one of the things that I used to do, which now when I look back on it feels adorable, but at the time it was serious business, was my mom would bring home reams of paper from her job, and I was like, great, thank you. And then I would start drawing comics for her, only her, on a monthly schedule, and I would beat myself up as a little kid if I didn't hit my deadlines, because I'm like, she obviously doesn't care, but
Right.
At the time I was like, oh, my reader will be so mad if I don't finish the issue by the 30th. But yeah, I used to do it all the time. I made Transformers comics, G.I. Joe comics, Spider-Man. I had a Star Blazers comic for a while. All the classics.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I love that you're aware of that. It's so funny when we're kids, the different aspects of things that we take in without context.
Yeah.
Like you're just going as, I know comics come out every month. I have to make a comic every month. Probably not thinking about 50 different people make this comic happen every month. It's all you. Got to do it. Yeah, right. It's so funny how we interpret the world when we're young and we don't have all the information we need. And talking about making comics for your mom, I would put on, and I'm thinking like probably 5, 6, 7 years old, right around there, I would put on plays for my mom with like my stuffed animals. I did, we're nearing the holiday season. I did a Charlie Brown Christmas one year. Or my mom, she's sitting in the living room watching me.
I have to know, was it that you had memorized a Charlie Brown Christmas and you were reciting it and doing it, or did you have
Yep.
your own spin on the Charlie Brown Christmas?
No, well, okay, so I'm sure it was not word for word, but I also sure it was pretty darn close.
Yeah.
And I don't have the whole cast of characters, so I've got a Snoopy, I've got a Woodstock, but Charlie Brown was something else. I think the Grinch was probably in it,
that's a solid crossover. Like that does not that
absolutely
mixes. Yeah,
absolutely. But the Grinch was like Schroeder or something. He was playing the role, because you know how when you're playing with your wrestling figures when you're a kid and you don't have an Iron Sheik, you're like, all right, well, I guess whoever has a mustache, I guess Jake the Snake is going to be Iron Sheik for this match, like stuff like that.
It's like when the actor gets sick and they're like, for this performance of A Charlie Brown Christmas, the role of Schroeder will be played by the Grinch.
The Grinch, yeah. So, but it was the same kind of thing. Like, it was very important to me that it be done as professionally as possible, that the timing is right, that it's just mom. But of course, she's encouraging. She appreciates it, That's so
but it's
funny.
important. These things are important. They matter.
Well, they do matter because it's all part of your development, and it all, again, as you learn the context and as you learn the creative process, whatever you saw, well, you've got that part of it, and you build from there. It's just like anything else, hopefully I'll be learning my whole entire life and continuing to build my knowledge and processes and everything. We just happen to start with, that little kid perspective.
That's right.
So when you're a kid, you mentioned Transformers, G.I. Joe, Star Blazers, which, so I loved Star Blazers, but I think Battle of the Planets or G-Force was the one that I really hooked into. But what was your big 80s thing? Because we loved it all, but everybody had the one they latched onto the most.
Very fascinating. So the easiest answer for me is Transformers. Obviously, because I see what's going on behind you. I don't even want to say how many hundreds of maybe more dollars worth of Transformers I have lined up in the next room. It's ridiculous.
Excellent.
It's ridiculous. In fact, I keep this guy on my desk.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What is that?
Right?
Whoa. Is that? No, that's not a statue though, is it?
It is a figure. It doesn't transform though.
Oh, see, those are some of my favorites though.
Yeah.
Because as great as the gimmick of transforming is, like I got one of the RED Optimus Primes because it's the Sunbow Optimus, and that's that's my guy,
I'll go on record as saying Transformers is the greatest toy ever invented. Like I think it's easily on the Mount Rushmore of toys, but really when you get down to it, there is so much play value in those figures. You've got the vehicle play, you've got the figure play, and you've got puzzle play. And the way they engineer these things is insane now. I don't know if do you follow the Masterpiece line at all? You familiar with that?
I don't follow it as closely. I'm aware of Transformers stuff that's coming out, but it's so overwhelming because there's so many different lines.
Oh yeah. And it's not even worth diving into. But I will say this, just so you know, because anytime I run into a fellow 80s kid, which I assume you are, I have to let them know this because it's such a niche thing. And it's like as a kid, you'd be like, what? So, there's the Transformers line of toys, right?
Right.
And they look how they look. They're engineered to look good in vehicle mode. And then the robot mode is whatever we can get away with, right?
Right. They figure it out.
Correct. Then the Sunbow show comes on and they're like, well, opposite of GoBots, if we're going to make people care about these figures and make them care about these characters, they got to look cool, So the artists take all these artistic licenses and liberties and they make really cool looking characters.
Right.
And so as a kid, you're like, you transform and you're like, that kind of looks like the one on TV.
Well, and for the listeners, and the best example of what you're talking about is, look at the Ironhide toy. look at Ironhide in the cartoon.
Mhm.
You know, we had to make some changes.
Exactly. So I don't know the year, but it's been going on like 10, 12 years now.
Well, now I do have a couple of Masterpiece. I got the first Optimus and the first Megatron they did in the Masterpiece series.
MPO one, yeah.
Clunky before they refined them,
Before they refined them. Okay, so so
Yeah.
so the with the Masterpiece line, they were like, yeah, but what if they did look like they did in the cartoon and like and also changed into like very accurate vehicles, regardless of the parts count and the price. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
And they just blew it out. And to me, it's like just the most magnificent line of toys like ever created. I love them.
That's with Transformers, and because lately toys as art has become, well, I say lately, probably over the past 10 years, it's been kind of evolving with me. Toys as art has become one of my fascinations, where, you know, for years I was like, Marvel Legends, like all the articulation you can throw at me, let's go, that's what I want. And now I'm really getting to the point where I was like, you know what, I actually would like it to also look nice. I would like it to have interesting paint schemes. I would like weird concept. Actually, to go back to Peanuts, my little desk guy, I would like to have weird concepts.
Like, it's dope. Look at that thing.
Charlie Brown, Halloween Charlie Brown. Like
Killer.
that kind of stuff. I'm having more fun with a lot of independent toys. So anyway, but with Transformers, you have this wide range of really interesting things they've done. Like they did a comic cover Shockwave sometime in the last couple of years that was really cool. I love the prototype RC.
Oh, isn't that funny?
And the fact that they did both colors, I think, is so cool.
I know, it's so great. I mean, they even made that freaking spherical Unicron. Like, it's nuts. We're in such a golden age. We're so spoiled as fans right now. Like I don't know. It's also a strange dichotomy, because I feel like we're in a space where it's like any figure, any character, no matter how niche, no matter how incidental, has been blown out to its fullest potential. Like there's like a figure line, they're mixing and matching, they're crossing over. Turtles has crossed over with everyone at this point. But also at the same time, we've reached this threshold where it's like IP, just in general, sort of means less than it ever has. So it's supply and demand, I guess. Like the more you have, the less it's worth or something. But like we're in a really weird inflection point.
And I think that's a really good point. And I had not, in thinking about my interest in designer toys and becoming more fascinated with those, I wonder if that plays into it a little bit, is that the things that I love, G.I. Joe and Marvel and Ninja Turtles and whatever else, Masters of the Universe, are so accessible now and have flooded the market so much now that now I'm looking towards stuff that's not IP, stuff that's created by individuals, just visions that people have of bringing these figures or whatever to life. I wonder if that's a part of why. Because look, if you had told me 10 years ago that I would pass on a Masters of the Universe Thundercats crossover line, I would have told you you're out of your mind. But I looked at them and I was like, these are really cool. I just don't need them.
Dude, okay, so the data's muddy, obviously, because we're not the same age forever. So we, as a test group, we're growing and changing as we go. So our sensibilities have changed. So the data's muddy. But I will say this. We'll say Arcane. I love Arcane. Did you watch that? Any of that on Netflix? It's beautiful. It's the League of. I'm not even into League of Legends, but the anime is so beautifully done. Like it's the most beautiful animation. It's gorgeous.
Okay.
Gorgeous. And the story is great. And the character design is great. Acting, top notch all the way around. It's so good. I've watched it once and have never returned. Now, is that because I'm 10,000 years old and I've got a lot going on and there's no extra time? Or is it because it's right there whenever I need it? It's completely easily accessible, no problem. Whereas when I was a kid, and again, not clean data, things were not easily accessible. You had to watch it live at that time. if they changed the time slot, you had to run home from school in order to make it on time to catch the show. And it was in such short supply. Like I'd sit there with a piece of paper trying to learn how to draw the characters as they're on TV, and you just kept going back and going back and going back. Now, I don't know if that's supply and demand or what, but I feel like there's something to it.
Oh, there's absolutely something to it. It's a scarcity, because think about going back to Transformers, because I think we've found our touchstone that we're probably going to come back to over and over again, because it's an easy enough cultural reference. So with Transformers, think about, I'm sure you've gone back and rewatched the original Transformers cartoons to some extent over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go back and rewatch them, there's some episodes that you saw, in your mind, you're probably thinking dozens of times, but realistically, when you're a kid, you probably saw them 3 times.
Probably.
But they impacted you. And when you go back and rewatch, there's some episodes that you may not remember at all, or you're like, oh my gosh, I barely saw this one. Like there's some that didn't impact as much. And it's because of what you're saying is like, you had to catch them. And if you missed an episode, you may not see it again for a year. You may never see it. There's no on demand. There's no, I can go look this up on the Hasbro streaming platform or whatever. And same thing with like Star Wars. For years, whatever I had in my head after I saw Empire Strikes Back was all I had. There's storybooks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's no, let me go back and see what Luke actually said to Vader in that moment. It's just whatever your little kid brain retained. So
for me, the best and most fun example of that was 1986. My mom takes me and my friend Michael and Michael Morbido, shout out Michael, to see Transformers the movie at the theater. Just drops us off when we walk in and get traumatized together. And like that movie was a flop, so it at the time, so you don't see it a second time. You see it one time and you go home and you just obsess about what you saw, and you're trying so hard to remember it. And I don't know if you are aware of this, probably are, but for a long time, you could not get Transformers the movie anywhere. Like even after VHS, like it just was not available. It
was so strange because G.I. Joe the movie hit VHS because it never got to theaters because
it was on TV.
Transformers and My Little Pony both like flopped, and that's the reason Joe never went to theaters. But they did it as a miniseries they did a special event like on a Sunday night or something like that, and then they chopped it up and it became one of the miniseries as well. But it came out on VHS. You could go to Turtles or wherever you got your record bar or wherever and get it. But I remember it being frustrating. Like, why is Joe available?
Couldn't get it. And it's like there were like legends of bootlegs floating around and whatever. Anyway, all that to say, we all collectively had this thing in our mind from the one time you probably saw it in the theater. It'd be amazing if anybody saw it more than once back then. Where it was like, I know that I heard Spike curse, like heard him swear in that movie. I know I heard it. Yes. And then it comes out and it's not there. And you're like, no, did we all just imagine this? And then of course
we all have a Mandela effect here.
Yes. But like that was like the craziest thing. And it's like that will never happen again. But it was such an interesting thing that we all went through. It was like a psyop where they were trying to make you think you were crazy.
Right. Well, and I have a funny story about that. So my mom took me to see Transformers in the theater. I'm 10 years old, depending on when I turned 10 in 86. So 10-ish years old. Mom goes in with me because she took me to see all of the movies, like all of my movie memories up through probably 87 or 88 or so are my mom sitting right next to me. So she takes me in to see Transformers, and we get to that scene. And here's the reason I was positive. I know that he said what he said, because we're sitting there, we're watching the movie, and they're in outer space, Unicron's coming, and Spike says, "Oh shit!" And I'm like, in my head, she's gonna grab my hand, pick me up and we're going to leave the theater because my cartoon movie just said the S word.
Right.
And I look over and like terrified, look over at Mom. And she's next to me.
Oh, hilarious.
Just asleep, passed out. And this is not that far into the movie. So
it's really not.
This was just nap time for Mom. So she missed the infamous S word. And I was able to enjoy the rest of Transformers the movie.
So funny the way it's too, like, you're just making me think this now about how our sensibilities were in the 80s, maybe now too, where, you know, as a kid, Spike says the S word and you're like, yeah, we're getting pulled out. You know, we're getting canceled. This isn't going to happen. But 2 scenes earlier, there's like a mass murder with a pistol. Right. It doesn't even look like a laser gun. It is a pistol. And you're like, great. Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
And I think you're right, though. I do think in modern times, it still is slanted more towards, well, there's no think about it. It is like horrible violence is much more acceptable than anything, any kind of sexuality, cursing, anything like that. Like violence is fine, and it's crazy, and that's a good observation too. Because you're right, it was just
American heritage, you know.
Yeah, it really is.
Country of cowboys. Yep.
Yeah. So with that background established, with that great 80s pop culture that, you know, people, I think there's a tendency of some to dismiss it a bit as fluff, as these are cartoon selling toys. But these creators that were writing these cartoons, writing these comic books, artists, everyone, were putting messages in these things. We're socially conscious. We're teaching me to be the person that I am. So it wasn't just empty entertainment. And don't get me wrong, it was probably mostly that. But there were messages, and it wasn't just about knowing is half the battle at the end. It was throughout. It was about people working together, people overcoming things and representation and everything else. Like, we were learning from these things.
For sure. And, you know, it's pretty telling. Like, for someone like me, probably you too, my favorite episodes are the kind of weird ones. Like where, let's get into, we're here, all right? We're already into it.
Yeah.
Like where Sea Spray like wants to get into the lagoon because, like, you know, it's the only way to escape, and it's like it'll destroy anything robotic, and he's like, I'm more than just a robot, right? And he gets in, and like it turns out he's a human. Powerglide falls in love with that girl. When, oh my gosh, freaking anything with Shipwreck, with the Mara stuff, with like anything with the that weird bit where they promoted like him, what was it, him and Lifeline, and I want to say, was it Beachhead? I don't know. They all
just talked about that episode. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, the one where the Cobra hacks into the computer and promotes the Joes who are not qualified to lead.
I always like, you have the ability to lead, but no desire. I think about it all the time. Like, you learn so much about life and humanity from some, not all, but from some of these episodes. And I feel like these writers, you know, you ever worked on a project where it's like the people above you don't really care? They're just just do it because we're worried about this. As long as you do this, you can do whatever you want. Like, I feel like that was the case. I don't know for a fact, but I feel like they were like, just jam these characters in, make them cool, make kids want to buy them, and then you can do the stories wherever you. And remember, these are like 40 something episodes a season. And I feel like these writers, like, where they're like, I feel like they were like, we have a chance to like really tell some stories here, and they did, and they changed a generation.
Yeah, I've actually had the opportunity to talk to Michael Charles Hill, who wrote some Transformers episodes. He wrote the Cold Slither episode of G.I. Joe. I've had the opportunity to talk to him a couple of times on the show. And it was definitely about, you know, use these characters, but beyond that, just tell an interesting story. They had carte blanche to kind of tell the stories, teach the lessons, do what they wanted to do, as long as you've got, you know, the right action figures on the screens. And I think most of them took advantage of that to be responsible and to make it something as important as it could be within the medium.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Let's see. Okay, so talked a little bit about toys, talked a little bit about TV and movies. We got to talk a little bit about music, because music, I feel like, is formative for most people. Are you a creator who has music going in the background, who uses it to kind of influence what you're doing, or is there some other pop culture thing that you kind of take your energy from?
So for me, it really depends on what I'm doing. I'm sort of a multidisciplinary artist. So I draw, I also write, I do some game design. It depends on what I'm doing and what I'm using my brain for. So when I'm drawing, when I'm like designing gear, that kind of thing, illustrating, love having music on. I love it, love it, love it. It's great. But I'm also one of those people who, if I'm trying to write something, like if I'm trying to conceive, pull something out of the ether and try to make it make sense, I can't have, it's almost like I can't have anything. I almost have to have silence, and it's really boring. But I don't know if I get distracted or anything with lyrics. Like I just get pulled in, and it mixes things up, and not in a good way, like in a bad way. So yeah. So when I'm drawing, I'm full on music, podcasts, whatever can fill up like the empty part of your brain, while the right side is just going nuts. And when I'm writing, I got nothing. If
it's something where I'm trying to create, like if I'm working on a scripting for the game show or doing something like that, it's movie scores.
Like really? I hear people use scores a lot.
No lyrics. It sets a mood without being distracting. And I find movie scores to be fantastic. But in anything else that I'm doing, I'll have whatever mood I'm in at the time. I'll throw on, because I love interacting with records.
Yeah,
I just, it's so satisfying to like
vinyl, like actual physical records.
Yeah. Like the physical interaction of putting it down, putting the needle on it, finishing up that side, flipping it over, and finding out like the artist determined that this is the song that was going to kick off side B. Like this is what they were like, this is what we're doing. Like it's so much more impactful, and I love just having that going on when I'm working on stuff.
That's amazing.
But also now, we talked about the accessibility of everything. I also like to just have, like, when we wrap up here and I start doing my day job stuff, I'll go to Roku channel and throw on the Doctor Who channel and just let it go, because it's something that can just cruise.
Yeah.
Like I know most of that well enough to where it's just going every once in a while, there'll be a quip or something, but I like having that static in the background, I guess.
I'm with you. And I think I have to wonder once again if that's not a staple of our generation, because if you're like me, you were probably raised by a television. It was like,
oh yeah,
it's like the intro to Dream On. You just set a kid down in front of a TV, and that's just where you get your sensibilities. Like I love having, like, if it's complete silence, I feel a little weird. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Unless I'm actively doing something. If I'm just sitting there and it's quiet, like I can't enjoy the silence.
Intolerable.
Sorry, Depeche Mode. I have to have something, even when I sleep. My wife likes the silence, so that's a problem. So luckily now they have the AirPods, so I put those in, and I'll listen to. It has to be something that I've heard a million billion times, so I'm not stimulated by it, but it's like it's comforting, and I'll just listen to like a movie podcast or something. Probably the same 4 episodes of Red Letter Media or something.
It's funny how you can kind of find something and you're like, oh, this is my thing for a while, and go just like months of that's the thing that can, put you in whatever it is you're trying to achieve, whether you're trying to get amped up or calm down or whatever. You can kind of lock into something for a while, but then it seems like it does change over time. I don't know if you get too attuned to it or whatever. But so speaking of creating, we got to talk about the wrestling gear.
Let's talk about it.
Well, to get to that though, how did you get into graphic design? Like, how did that become
graphic design in general?
Yeah.
It's I was remember the comics from my mom?
Yeah.
You know, like that's something that wasn't something that I aspired to. It wasn't something like I saw someone doing and I went, oh, that's a job. I should do that job. I did it for fun. I wanted to tell stories, not in an altruistic way, like, oh, I have a story to tell and I have to share it with people. It just was for me, and it just like lit a flame in me and was fun. It made me feel more like me than anything else, you know? And that doesn't go away. Like, that was there for a reason. It's there for something, put it there. And every time I tried to do a normie job, I just failed at it completely because my heart wasn't in it. I felt like I didn't belong there. I felt like I'm wasting my life.
Yeah.
And it just honestly just wasn't good at focusing on those things because I'm always somewhere else, you know?
Yeah.
And then
yes, I do know.
You do. You get it. You get
it.
And then one day, I had a buddy that I met in school, and his brother is a musician and a composer, and he worked at a small game developer in Oldsmar, Florida. And he introduced me to him, and I went to his workplace. And we were talking earlier before the show about how I make friends. I just see someone doing something cool, and I awkwardly ask if you'll be my friend. That's what I did, because I went to this place. I'd never seen anything like it. It was like a bunch of cool dudes with everyone with a ponytail, action figures all over their desks.
Oh, man.
Just like drawing on computers and making video games. And I was like, I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know this existed. So I was like, can I be your friend? And they're like, sure. And then eventually it came out that I like to draw. And I wasn't adept with Photoshop. I was just like a paper and pen guy. And you're like, well, we need concept art. We need storyboards. Is that something you do? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. Always say yes.
Yeah, right.
So
Can
that's
you
how
ride a horse? Of course I can.
Of course I can, obviously. That's how I kind of found my way into commercial art, you know, like drawing and getting a check for it. I worked there for a long time and eventually learned digital artwork and Photoshop, and those guys were like super instrumental in teaching me how layers work and all those things. Eventually, I won't say a position open, but I saw an opportunity. We'd gotten a license for Fairly Odd Parents. Remember that show?
Yeah, of course.
So we'd gotten the license to make that game, but we didn't have a writer. And so I put my hand up and was like, hey, so I do some writing. I know I've never mentioned this. I'd love to take a shot at it. And rightfully so, they didn't just hand me the thing. They were like, well, sure, we are looking at a bunch of people, but feel free to put a submission in with them, you know? And they did a blind submission and I didn't get it. I came in second. And the person who did get it turned out to be hard to work with and an insufferable prick. So they fired him and I got the gig. And that's where I learned you have to be fun to work with.
That's great. And I love that you said that, because a couple of years ago when I got the last job that I had at my old company, I made the promise to myself that like the number one thing I said when I got the job was, everybody that I interact with is going to come away saying, wow, I really like working with that guy. Like, that was my biggest goal. And I had more success in that position than I've ever had in anything I do. And there were times like there's some stuff that I flubbed. There's some things where I had more of a learning curve than I thought I was going to have. Not to say I wasn't successful, but there were some challenges that I dealt with that if I had been an insufferable prick, probably would have been a big problem for some people. But because I made the effort of, look, I'm going to be the guy that when I walk into the kitchen, people are like, hey, it's Dave. Like, they're going to be happy to see me walk in there.
Yeah.
And it changed so much.
It goes hand in hand with a couple of things. Obviously, you have to have some propensity for the job that you're doing. You have to be something there. You can't be completely clueless.
You can't just be the nice guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So there has to be some foundation of being somewhat good at the job or passionate about it or knowledgeable or something. But then fun to work with, easy to get along with. and also upfront about your mistakes. Like, hey
Yes.
guys, I'm sorry, that's my bad. I messed up. What did I do wrong? Show me how to fix it. Let me get better at it. Let me improve it. If you can get those 3 things going, you're absolutely unstoppable.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and that's I would say being upfront about your mistakes really just falls under communicate. Communicate with people honestly, and that opens up everything as well.
Yeah,
It's massive. So you've established yourself. Who was, and I don't have any idea. I mean, obviously New Day are for me the most prolific of your designs. Like
for sure.
the run, incredible. But who were you first doing gear for?
Oh, you don't know this story?
No, I don't know this story.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, this is the greatest. Picture it. Recession time, 2009, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
My video game career had dried up, like just completely gone. Because if you remember, during that particular recession, all entertainment gigs went away completely. You know, just like it was really bad. So you know, there's no practical application for your, like, out in the world. It's like you can't go to Publix and go like, I'm really good at concept art, and they're like, great,
Right.
stock some shelves. So I found myself working night shifts at this place, Nielsen, and writing weird like quizzes for people to see if they've retained product integration in the shows they're watching. It's a very fascinating, strange thing. But it was, and the people there were great, and the job was fine. But I also had a newborn at home, and it was just killing me. Like, I wasn't around anybody. My wife and I would just kind of pass each other, like she's leaving as I'm getting home. It was a bad time for me. And also I was not fulfilled creatively at all. Remember we talked about that flame in you, right?
Uh-huh.
So I get on Craigslist, and I just start looking for gigs, like anything art related. Like, you know, I'll draw, I'll make ads. I don't care. I just need someone to give me some art direction and let me try to pull it off.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So I see this ad where some schmo is like looking for in Craigslist, looking for a character designer because they're wanting to pitch an animated cartoon. They didn't say what it was about, but they said that like it needed to be in the style of the 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like it's very close to my natural style, because a lot of the things that I draw like kind of came from like that, you know, the Batman animated series, like very simplistic designs, but with lots of dynamicism to them. That's
I was just getting ready to say, but very dynamic also.
Yeah,
That makes a lot of sense.
Love that style. And that's very similar to the Turtles, except, you know, if you really want to get into it, it's like there's no rounded edges. Everything has like a slight corner to it, you know? So I was like, I got it. I know how to do this. So I wrote back right away, and the person was like, yeah, sounds great. Let's do it, you know? And it wasn't like a big payday or anything, but they were like, yeah, let's see your stuff. And I will admit here that I phoned in that first one because I thought I'd be so good at it and no, it wouldn't be any problem. So I did it. I sent in a lineup of characters, and they were like, not quite my tempo. Like, this is not exactly the style we talked about. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize you actually knew what you're talking about. My bad. Let me not phone it in and do a real good job now, Mr. Craigslist guy. So then I did a second pass, and I nailed it the second time, in my opinion. I sent it over. He loved it, and it was great. Then he reveals that he's a pro wrestler, and he's not on the show or anything. He's in development. And the thing that he was trying to pitch was an animated wrestling cartoon, you know? And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, hey man, listen, do you do gear design? What we talked about earlier.
Yes.
Always say yes.
Of course I do.
Of course I do. Who could? Obviously. He's like, yeah, well, let's, do you mind designing some gear for me? I think that'd be cool. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I did that, made a couple of sets for him, and, you know, didn't think too much about it. It was just like kind of an interesting little side gig or whatever. And then one day he gets pulled up and put on the show. And that man is Xavier Woods.
Okay. So, I know Woods from
You do?
Dragon
Okay.
Con.
Yeah. Yes, of course you do.
The first time. Oh, I meant to. Hang on.
Yeah. Take
Just
your
a
time.
second. I'm going to put a little pause in here for the viewers. I will be right back. It's right over there.
Let me grab something too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I almost did.
All right, we're back. So I got to know the first time I ever had any familiarity with Xavier Woods. He was awesome Austin Creed.
Yes.
And he replaced Pac-Man Jones, I think, was the football player in a tag match in TNA. And it was here in town, right up the road at the Gwinnett Arena. We went to, was it Bound for
Where
Glory?
are you located? Are you in
I'm
Atlanta?
in Georgia. I'm in Lilburn, Georgia, which is like 15 minutes away from that arena. So me and my buddies we've been watching TNA since 2002. Like we are die hard, love TNA. So I guess this was 2007, maybe?
Yeah.
I think it was 2007. So awesome Austin Creed is replacing Pac-Man, comes out and has the full gear, the hat, the jacket, everything. And he's great. And we're so happy because we didn't care anything about the football guy.
Right.
We were like, why is he in this? We don't get it. And we're thrilled. It's like, this guy's great. He's fun. He's got a lot of energy in the ring. And I didn't know about his whatever the local NWA was at the time that he'd been in and out of. So anyway, saw him there. And then I think it was the next year or the year after. Well, he's at Dragon Con Wrestling. It might have been the first year no, it couldn't have been the first year of Dragon Con Wrestling. But anyway, he's at Dragon Con Wrestling. So I go over, he's hanging out at the table. I can't remember if he wrestled or not, but I'm like, I'm thrilled. This guy is here. We had so much fun. So I have this old 8x10 of the juiciest man I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, he is juicy. Look at him.
He is dripping. He is like Mark Henry levels right here.
Wow, that's so
signed
good.
to Dave with the, I'm going to assume that says Austin Creed.
Probably
right
does.
there, but who knows? But anyway, talked to him at the table. Just couldn't have been any nicer. And so following years, as he moved up in WWE, he stopped. So I think he was part of the show that year, but he had to stop wrestling because once he gets into WWE developmental, he can't be wrestling on this little Dragon Con show.
Sure.
But he would come and sit with us every year.
And
I've got a lot of other pictures, like just hanging out with the guy. So like I wouldn't say we're pals, but if he saw me in Target, he'd know who I was and say hi. So
I love that.
That's cool. And has always been, matter of fact, 2 years ago, I do a game show at Dragon Con every year. And 2 years ago, we were doing a tribute to Pee Wee Herman because he had passed earlier in the year.
Yeah.
And I sent him a message like, I know Dragon Con's it's your birthday weekend. You're running around all the time, but we're doing this. Would you have any interest in coming dressed as Pee Wee for the game show? Because we're going to do this big thing. And he was like, man, dude, I would love to. I don't know. And we kind of went back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
Of course, his schedule is too crazy. There was
no
way we could like for sure it. So yeah, I have known him for years. Big E is one of my favorite entertainers of all time. And then Kofi is his run's legendary. So the three of them, they really, really do mean a lot to me. And actually it's funny. I already had this and realized
very few people have that. Yeah.
The Book of Booty is such a good resource for your stuff.
Oh, I don't think I realized that. I looked at it a long time ago, but I have it in the next room. Yeah.
There's so many pictures in here that are like of their gear, because it's not super easy to just go online and find specific things. So you've got the relationship with Woods. You do some gear, and how does that
Woods,
evolve?
well, man, I don't have to tell you because you know the man. Woods is like just the nicest. I'm not saying this because he's like a client. Like I
Right,
consider
right.
him a friend. He is like just one of the nicest, coolest, funniest, smartest guys, first of all. But like so loyal to his friends and the people that he considers. I think that he feels like a lot of people count on him, you know? And
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
that's accurate or not, it doesn't matter. I think that's the way he sees it. And if he feels an obligation or responsibility of any kind, he comes through. And, full stop, And when he started, like, as far as I know, I kind of know the lore sort of secondhand, but
Yeah.
like, I think New Day is his idea. And he went scouting for these guys. He's like, we should start a thing. We're stronger together kind of thing, And when that stable got pulled together, he pulled me in with him. And he was like, hey, this is my gear designer. Now he's our gear designer. So my clientele tripled. And it wasn't, I say clientele like that was my career. It absolutely wasn't. It was like a gig I did on the side while I was doing some other things, And suddenly, instead of one set of gear that I'm doing, now I'm doing 3. And it turns out, and you know this too, by some crazy, I don't know, just I feel like completely blessed by some crazy thing, act of the universe. Suddenly, I have like the 3 coolest guys in all of WWE, like asking to work with me on stuff. And we all like the same stuff and we all have the same sense of humor. And we're all like sensitive, emotionally intelligent people,
Yeah.
And like they have like an incredibly tight bond. And I think a lot of, I would say affection for me and respect for me. And like, I feel like they pulled me in as a partner, and it wasn't just that, like a lot of times they would come up with ideas and shoot them my way. And here's what we need, And then It was almost like taking on any kind of design gig. You have to learn the visual language, and you learn the shorthand and you tune into their sensibilities. And then once you're in sync, then I start pitching things of my own and they're like, oh yeah, I love that. And then we start collaborating more and more. And then after a while, it's just kind of like this really cool little conglomerate of idiots coming up with things specifically to make ourselves laugh. And hey, if anybody else wants to also, then that's great too.
Well, and I think that's well, first of all, wrestling gear has become a business unto itself because everybody has to have new gear all the time now.
Yeah.
It's very different from, when we're growing up watching wrestling and they're the red trunks again that he's been wearing for 3 years now. Like,
yes.
It doesn't work like that anymore. People have to have new gear, certainly every pay-per-view, but some are doing it every show. Some are doing, it's fascinating that that's such an industry now. So it makes a lot of sense that you've had the opportunity to kind of put in your own input of like, hey, I think this is a good idea because they need new gear all the time.
Yeah.
One idea from time to time is not getting it done. And talking about things to amuse yourselves, I've got just kind of a little list here of actually, before we get to the list, are you okay with going a little bit long? Because we're going to go a little bit long.
I'm good. Yeah, totally. I got time.
Okay. So you've got the Seinfeld gear.
Stop right there. Here's the story. Seinfeld gear holds a very specific piece of history because that was after he had gone solo. Mm-hmm. So now I have I'm doing stuff with New Day, but he's like forging his own path and we're doing our own things. And he was champ at the time. And you get an incredible amount of leeway when you're the face of the company, when you've got that belt. So he was like, all right, let's do something nuts. And I was like, yeah, man, what are you into? Like, we'll figure it out. And it was neat because he and I had never worked solo before. So we had to kind of find our own groove, like our own chemistry. And that's grown into like an incredible friendship. And we've done lots of creative things like by ourselves, which has been very fun. But everybody knows Big E is like a huge Seinfeld fan. Like, and he's not a poser. Like, he quotes the show. He knows every episode. Yeah. But what's hilarious about the Seinfeld gear is we ended up doing a trilogy of them. So there's 3 sets total. There was like the regular set, there's the Festivus, and then Vandalay Industries. And they let us get away with Seinfeld. They let us get away with Festivus. When we debuted Vandalay Industries, finally NBC was like, "You've got to stop." Of all the things that we've ever done, me and New Day, and like with anybody, just like homaging various pop culture things, we've never gotten a cease and desist from anyone except for the Seinfeld.
Wow. That's hilarious.
And we were like, yes, you're right. Yes, obviously, you're correct. Obviously, we've gone too far.
That's wonderful. I love that. And for anybody listening or watching, hearing that Big E is a Seinfeld fan, I mean, obviously he wore the gear, but that's no surprise because New Day Pod, I think, is the greatest podcast of all time. And anybody who has not listened to it, it's still out there. You can still listen to it. Go listen to New Day Pod. It's, oh my gosh, the conversations that those guys have, some of the rabbit holes, just some, I mean, it's crazy. And we're not going to spend too much time on it, but I do just want to throw this out there for anybody. Big Money Kofi is the greatest unrealized gimmick of all time. Now, if you go listen to New Day Pod now, you'll get to that episode eventually. But my gosh, and I feel like we're so close to it right now.
I know. Okay. Okay. It's as with all things wrestling, you don't know where reality ends and where fiction begins. Sure. You have no idea. It's a smooth gradient. There's not a line in the sand. So I don't know how much of that was Kofi improving, like on the spot. Like, I'm gonna roll into this because he's a great improviser, as are all 3 of them. Or how much of it was sitting in him, waiting to come out. I could see either way. I could see this as a character that he's done to amuse his friends and his family.
Right.
I could see that easily. And he's like, oh, here's an opportunity for me to bust out this character. Or I could also see it being born at that exact moment, at that exact time. But either way, it rolled out fully formed.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point. It's entirely possible because I can't remember who said it, but let's say Woods just throws out, well, we got to talk about Big Money Kofi. That is nothing that's ever existed before. Nobody's ever said those words together before, but Kofi latched onto it, and that's what happened. Like, that's entirely possible. Or it could have been, because wrestlers throw around gimmick ideas all the time, especially early in their careers. So it is something that could have been sitting there on the back burner forever. But my gosh, I loved it so much. And I genuinely believe when I look at Xavier Woods, I see a guy who's to me like a Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
He can do it all. People know him for character probably a little bit more, but when you watch his matches, he can work with anybody. He has these outstanding matches, and I've literally been on the edge of my seat for years waiting for him to get that shot at the top. And honestly, I mean, of course everybody wants it, but we know King of the Ring was his thing. We know that, like, he's had other goals, but my gosh, I just see like Woods heel, just mean Woods, like we're seeing right now with Big Money Kofi. Obviously we don't want Kofi not wrestling, but in sort of a manager capacity almost. I just see those two as just so much money. So
it's a blessing and a curse with those guys because they can do anything.
Right.
So if you can do anything, what do? No matter what you pick, there's an infinite number of lanes in either direction that you didn't do, and we're sad you didn't do it.
And also when you can do anything, well, that means that you do everything, which includes helping make new stars, which includes being central to the show in ways that maybe aren't in the ring as much. Like, because that's what, wrestling, if you're on the show every week, you're successful. That bottom line, like successful in wrestling. And they're fantastic. We got to talk about some more gear though. So we got, I want to talk about your gear that have been immortalized in action figure form.
Oh,
because how special is that you have, and it's not just New Day. You've done gear for Johnny Gargano, for Bayley, for Ricochet, there's another talent that we could do a whole show about.
That man's on fire right now.
Oh my gosh, dude. He hit AEW and they started letting him do his thing. I love, we're about to go off on a little bit of a tangent.
Do we have to?
I love that wrestlers have options right now. Yes. I love there's a place where talent like Ricochet, talent like Tony Storm can go, and we can be like, holy shit.
Yeah. Where was that?
Who is this?
Yeah.
Where is this? And I get it. Each company has their own way that they develop talent, that they deal with talent, and people are just going to fit differently in different places. But my gosh, seeing that guy go to AEW, and the first time he busted out those golden scissors, and I realized that was a while ago now.
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening right now? It's wild. And I love seeing that creative freedom. And when people are able to take, to grab it and go.
Dude, it's absolutely incredible. Everything you said is correct. And also, there's such an interesting, we don't, I have my relationship with wrestlers, but like as a fan, we don't really know these people. Not really, right? No. We just, we like them in general. We like their character. We admire them. We don't know them, and yet when they are continually held in a particular position at a particular company, flourishing in a limited capacity, and then they move into a different position and they're given the freedom to do whatever, and they hit. You don't know him, but don't you feel so happy? You feel so justified, and like it's like you've never, it's like they're your best friend, and your best friend won the lottery, and you're like, yeah, no, it's not the lottery. Lottery's luck. It's like they did something that was in them, and it hit, and they were correct the whole time, and you just feel so good for them. When I see Ricochet doing his Ricochet thing on AEW right now, like I light up with pride. Like I feel so happy for him in a way that like I only reserve for my closest friends. It's amazing.
Well, it's because we were there. We were there with him the whole time, with every point. As you said, when people are talented, there's so many different paths that we make up in our own heads, which is a whole other thing that I'm not going to get into about how people get so attached to their ideas and expectations that they can't appreciate reality. But we come up with so many ideas for like, oh man, I see Ricochet's path to being the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, or whatever it is. And then it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because somebody else comes along that management has a different vision for, and that's all it is. So then, yes, to finally see whoever it is that you're supporting succeed in a way that resonates more with you. I think that's really what it is. Cause you said, used a much nicer word, but doing well in a lane.
Yeah.
Maybe not, shooting for the stars, but flourishing. But then to see them actually, that rocket take off for them, it is. Cause we've been there for years. Like, oh, I see that in that person. And then for it to finally start happening, it is. I mean, we're part of the journey. It's
so good. And like with Ricochet in specific, like, this is not me breaking news. It was kind of a known thing when he was at WWE that like, oh, Ricochet's amazing in the ring. No good on the mic though. And isn't it
I hate that so much.
delicious.
Yes.
Isn't it just
Yes.
delicious to see him thriving with a character that he pulled out of nowhere and being like among the best now?
And I think wrestlers are in a tough spot now because yes, there are more jobs, more opportunities than ever, but at the same time, to get the reps in, especially on the mic, I think is probably more difficult than ever now because the house shows aren't even happening for WWE. Like the opportunity to just get on a mic and workshop your character, they just don't have it like they used to. So it's totally unfair when people say, I hate that criticism. Oh, they suck on the mic. Well, no, they haven't had the right opportunity, or they haven't had the right character, or whatever the case may be. Like we don't know.
We don't know. We're given a very limited window into this person's potential.
Absolutely.
Very limited. I have to say this real quick about Ricochet because it's very specific to this area we're in. Is he not in the current iteration? Is he not kind of Cobra Commander?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like, just so grandiose in his presentation, the way he speaks, but then gets in trouble and is like, "That's true."
Absolutely, retreats.
It's
absolutely
so good. It's good.
It's the old formulas. They work for a reason, that chicken shit heel. I mean, people love that because they're so pompous and they're so full of themselves and they're so certain. And it's that satisfaction of the runaway. You get like, of course they ran away, but it makes you mad because they didn't really get their comeuppance. Yeah. So it's just waiting for that comeuppance. Like, and you can draw, if you've got a good character like Ricochet is right now, you can draw that out for so long. I just think about, to go back to somebody that can do it all, New Day.
Yeah.
Right now, they could never win a match again and not lose a drop of their value. That's how good they are.
Yeah.
Because in a second, they can turn on whatever they need to turn on. They could come in and be, now granted, you can't do the Big Show flip flop where they're heels, faces, heels, faces, heels, faces.
Yeah.
But
can't do that.
They can turn on whatever they need to turn on at any time and be as unbeatable or as dirty or as whatever it calls for. That they're in this special place where their value is just in being there. Completely. Whatever they're doing. So action figures. Mortal, the Masters of the Universe designs got action figures because fortunately Mattel, that's an easy one. Nobody's sending a cease and desist on that because
although that's true. That's true. But tying it all together, I did an Optimus Prime set for Ricochet. And then that got made into a figure by Mattel. It's the weirdest thing.
Wow, that's what. So see, I didn't even know that one.
Yeah, it's very strange. It was like, obviously Transformers, tying it all together.
Yeah.
I have been dying for someone to ask me to do a Transformers thing for so long. And one day Ricochet hit me up. He's like, "Hey, we need to do a new thing." And I was like, "Cool, what are you thinking?" And he's like, "I don't really know. I just know the vibe. I want the vibe to be heroic, like red, blue, like somewhere, just whatever." And I was like, we could always do this. And I sent him like an Optimus Prime GIF. And he went, "Yeah, that sounds good." And I have video of me like jumping up and down because I was so excited to finally get to do it. And then to my surprise, it got made into a figure. And the weirdest part was when the figure got made, Ricochet wasn't even with the company anymore. So it was a very strange thing where it was like, we're making a figure of a guy who's no longer with our company wearing the outfit of a product made by our competitors. It was so strange. It's a strange anomaly of figure.
That's very so. That happens a lot. Matter of fact, there's so many wrestlers who their first figure has come out after they're not with the company anymore. That just because of the production time, it just it happens a lot. But it is interesting that no element of that got the figure cut. And I wonder because they just did the Masters of the Universe Transformers figures, and I gotta wonder if I don't know. That's very interesting. I would love to. I don't even want to speculate because we don't have enough information to. But
it was it was before all the crossover stuff started happening. I think that's when an industry starts kind of being on its heels, that's when everybody starts joining forces. All of a sudden, it's like the end of
right.
Yeah, it's like the end of Chicago, where the two competitors are like, we could do a duo act.
Yeah.
So it was before that, though. I think if I'm gonna pat myself on the back for anything, it's like being able to do homages to these very popular IP and pop culture moments and characters without making it cosplay. Like,
right.
Riding the line of like, this is inspired by, this is supposed to make you feel, this is invoking the spirit of, but legally distinct from this thing. And that's kind of like, I've kind of found like a little lane, like
that's
generally speaking, if people need that I tend to be someone that they go to. And like, I feel like, hey, there's proof that it worked out, because like Mattel was like straight up producing Optimus Prime figures and didn't even know it, I would assume.
Well, and that's the thing is because let's take Punk's tattoos. Mattel won't even touch it. They won't even do fake outs like Jazzwares for the AEW figures did kind of fake Cobra, fake Pepsi. Mattel's like, nope, not even touching it. So that had to be it. Is it was just a matter of like, didn't know or just it was that far away. But I love the idea of like something that passes the squint test but isn't copyright. That's great.
My headcanon is that every single person in the creative department working on the figures knew, and they're all waiting to see if anybody caught it. And like, we're all in this little group of like, can we get it? Can we get it done?
Yeah.
That's what I like to imagine.
Well, that sounds right. Cause I mean, the guys at Mattel, I mean, they know their stuff.
They know their stuff. They're
Robert and everybody, like they know what's up. They're smart to things.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Big E Action Hour. Oh my gosh. With the Big E action figure with the accessories and do you recall that one and how that came together?
I do. That's a really special one to me. That was like originated as like my pitch. And like, E and I go, like when we first started Solo, I just wanted to find out who he was as an individual performer. Like, who are you? In fact, that's how we got to be such good friends, was through that process. Like, because I know New Day, I know how to channel New Day's voice, but who is Big E, And he's difficult because he's not one thing. You can't pigeonhole his thing. He's like a series of contradictions. He's a million different things. He's like just a very well-rounded person, So we just sat down and had like a really long talk about like, because he'd asked me to do his shirt, and I was like, cool, what's the tagline? He's like, I'm like, oh boy, we got to find it. So we just sat and talked for hours and hours, and I really got to know him. So at the beginning, it was like just like me asking, what are you passionate about? And I'll find a way to do the gear for it, But later on, I got to the point where I was like, he was like, what do you want to do for our next thing? And I'm like, I do have an idea, and I think it would be super fun. And I wanted to do action figure packaging because I thought that would be so fun, like the full package, like with accessories or whatever. And we love the idea of building worlds up. So it was like, it kind of lends itself to that. But then like, it felt like it was missing something, like a little something, it didn't have any like deeper meaning to it. It was just kind of very surface level. And as you know, E is very much in tune with like mental health and emotional wellness.
Yes.
So we found an angle together where it was like, when you're watching action figure commercials and they're like, action figure does not actually blah, 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 blah. Figures and accessories sold separately or whatever. We're like, what if this thing's being presented on the surface as like Big E, the action hero, and he can punch anything and he can survive whatever. And then in the disclaimer that's like super fast, you hear that like he's a normal person. Everybody suffers highs and lows. Do not compare yourself to people on TV, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of became like this cool like message for emotional wellness, like hidden inside an action figure commercial. And that one was like, that's like triple special. So that was the first aspect. Second aspect was that got made into a figure with that. There were two versions. It was like the regular version. Then there was a version with the ATV. And that was the first. Was that the only time? No, I got pulled in one other time. That was the first time I ever got pulled into meetings with Mattel to talk to them about the action figure. So that was
very cool.
That was really cool. So, so I got to consult on that a little bit, and I made some changes to what I thought the figure should. Now, they ultimately didn't go through because they have paint limits, and I didn't know about that at the time.
Yeah.
But that was really fun. So that was special for that reason also, because us and toys, right? We love them. And then finally, I don't know if this is public knowledge, but Big E has absolutely no sense of nostalgia whatsoever for his stuff and wrestling stuff. He's just not a materialistic person at all.
So he's not a guy with like his figures on the shelf or anything like that.
100% not. In fact, these are my figures. Look. So every piece of gear that I've ever designed for him that ever got made, after he was done wearing it, immediately he sold it on eBay.
Oh no.
Every single piece. He owns nothing. He got rid of it all like immediately. And not like a month later where it's like, oh, what if you have to wear it some more? The second it's out of rotation, it's gone. He sold it.
Wow.
Gone. Except for one piece of gear, which is that one that you just mentioned. I have it.
Oh, that's great. So you say that, and I think to myself, like, oh, that's heartbreaking. How to not hang on to that, to not have that thing. But on the other hand, I'm like, I kind of wish I was like that.
Me too. The joke that we have is that he's going to slowly like get rid of everything. Just year over year, just get rid of more stuff, get rid of more stuff, more stuff, more stuff, more stuff, more stuff. Then it's down to just his clothes. He starts getting rid of his clothes or whatever. And then on the day that he dies, he's completely naked and possessionless and like goes out the same way he came in.
Well, and that goes back to New Day Pod. I remember them having a conversation about that where he said, when I die, just throw me in a ditch.
Yes, that's him. That is him in a nutshell. That's 100% him.
So if you can stick around for about 10 more minutes, we'll get this thing wrapped up. I'll tell you right now, though, I could stick around for about 6 more hours doing this because this is fantastic. I'm having the best time.
Me too. This is what I was hoping for. I was like, I hope this is as fun as it looks.
Man, I've had a blast talking to you. So has there been an opportunity? I would imagine once you get a reputation, once people have seen your work, that it was the workers, the wrestlers reaching out to you. But has there ever been an occasion where you've been watching somebody work and just been like, oh gosh, I've got an idea for this person? Like, have it ever gone the other way where you reached out?
So, yes and no. I've never reached out to a wrestler. I feel like I'm buffering a little bit. Is everything okay? Okay.
Oh, you're fine. Audio's good, and it will be good.
Right on. So I've never reached out to a wrestler for a very specific reason, and that's just because the wrestling gear community is so small. And
respect for whoever's doing their stuff.
Yeah, like there's not like a rule about it. Any wrestler can choose to work with whomever they want to work with. But my particular take on it is that, we're all just trying to get by. We all have a thing that we love to do, and we have people that we work with. And, you don't know anybody's circumstance. Like, my family and I just came off of like a really rough 2-year stint between like medical issues and hurricanes and whatever, So that's public knowledge. But if it wasn't, if you went after one of my staples, for all you're taking food off my table,
Right.
And so I don't know what other people's circumstances are. I'm not the type of person to do that, regardless of how much there are people that I'm dying to work with, but I don't know the circumstances. So I don't pitch. So I don't go after people. Everyone that I've gotten has reached out to me, and I've been lucky that it's been some really fun people, and I got to do some cool collaborations. That said, occasionally I'll have an idea for somebody, and there's no way to get it out into the world. But sometimes, by coincidence, someone that I already work with will pitch me an idea that's very similar to this thing that I would have done. And so in my head, I get to kind of cosplay it and go like, cool, I'm going to dress you up in this thing that I was going to do for that person if I ever got the opportunity. So
that's good.
That's the closest that I've ever had to something like that.
Well, and it's got to be good also. And that brings up an interesting point. So you probably, I would imagine you do have like sort of a catalog at all times in the back of your head of not generic ideas, but ideas that are like, man, this is really cool. I haven't found the right person, the right fit, the right occasion for it yet, but that's back here.
Yeah, that's for sure. Sometimes it's inspired by whatever movie thing some kind of thing that I saw or that I like or love or whatever. But sometimes it's just seeing a new piece of technology that exists or printing technique or something where I'm like, oh, that would be really fun to play with. But it doesn't match the current thing that we're doing with whomever I'm working with. So I have a little folder on my computer where I just like file things away, where it's like, if I ever get the chance to go in and use that, I definitely will. And it's come in handy a few times, but there's a whole bunch of stuff there I'm still kind of dying to try on somebody. The fun bit about that is I do work a good bit with indie performers as well. And some, they're not as locked into whatever narrative the company is pushing them to do, because they're kind of free agents. So sometimes I can say to them like, hey, I have this thing that I've always wanted to try on somebody. Are you game? And they're like, yes, I'm game. Let's do it.
That's great. That's huge too, man. We could do a whole other thing about independent wrestling because that's so hot right now.
I know.
So to wrap up, I'm not going to ask you your favorite gear you've ever done. I'm not going to favorite anything. What I'm interested in is right now in wrestling, AEW, WWE, either one or both. Who lights you up? Like when you're watching and that theme music hits, like who right now are your favorites when they come out? And I'll start. I'll make it easy.
Yeah.
Right now, man, the WWE women's division.
You took my answer.
Dude.
You
Rhea,
took my answer.
Io, Asuka, Liv, like everybody.
They
are just
on fire.
On firing on all cylinders, man. Every time they're out there, just this electricity. And I think the talent all mesh so well, whether they're foes or teamed up or whatever. There's just this magic happening there right now that division's not like anything else I've seen in 40 plus years of watching wrestling.
I completely agree, man. You took exactly my answer. I was going to say in fact, I was starting to sweat a little bit because I'm like, which of these ladies am I going to put forth? Because I don't have one that I'm like every time, because they are all operating on such a high level in every aspect. From stuff like that I really pay attention to, like their looks. Like after War Games the other night, did you watch that? The big lineup of the ladies at the end? I was like, oh, I want that on my shelf. They look so good together. They look so good.
And that's, again, to go back to the gear and it being such a critical part of the presentation now, every one of them, every time they come out, I'm like, that could be a figure. You know, there's no, nothing is middling. It's all like top level. Oh my gosh, look at this new concept, especially Rhea Ripley. I've been saying for years that if the company treats her right, I think she could be a Hulk Hogan level operator.
Yeah. Easily.
She's just got it. But all of them, like really the whole division, but then not to take anything away from AEW, because over there, again, I mentioned Tony Storm earlier.
Storm.
Where
did that come from? Why is that the greatest thing you've ever seen? Crazy.
Right?
Crazy.
Right? If you had and I think probably some of the greatest gimmicks of all time are that if you wrote them down on a piece of paper, it would immediately be balled up and thrown in the trash. But then when you see the person executing it, it's just magic. So really, I guess what we're going to go out on now is, oh my gosh, women's wrestling right now is just the best.
It's so
across the board.
Good. They're kicking the boys' butts, man. I'm telling you.
I agree. And that's without even getting into the independent wrestling scene and some of the women that are working there and just doing incredible stuff. I mean, it really, if you're not watching wrestling right now, and look, I'll say something a little controversial. I understand WWE is making it very difficult to watch wrestling right now.
It's very true. Very true.
But there's so much of it out there. I mentioned earlier, Roku channel. I'll sit there and watch Doctor Who. Well, guess what? There's a whole wrestling channel on the Roku channel.
I know.
There's so much of it out there. So if you don't want to pay for it, if you can't pay for it or whatever, there's lots of free wrestling you can enjoy too. It's the most wonderful entertainment that has ever been. And yeah, it has its ups and downs, but my gosh, right now we're in a golden age of it. And I will 100% say that, Jonathan, your stamp in that, your mark in that is, to me, part of the cultural shift of where wrestling is now. Because the looks that you've created, the impact that you've had in the visual element of wrestling, certainly with New Day, but beyond that, you're part of this massive cultural movement.
Thank you, man. And I don't know if you know this. It just came out. It was a secret up until this weekend, but Cody's team had reached out to me and asked me if I'd like to step in to work with them. So my first set of Cody gear debuted at War Games this weekend, and there might be more, I don't know, but like I kind of felt like it was cool. That was a cool moment. It was a cool moment, you know.
It's huge because you did kind of the little countdown, the little
you saw that
on the down low countdown. And I was like, interesting. What is this? I guess we'll find out soon. And I got to tell you, man, because Cody has had some just magnificent, like his gear is like majestic.
That's the trick, because he has such, like, his stuff has looked fantastic, like majestic, like you said. And he has such an established and well-rounded aesthetic that, like, that was a very tough assignment for me, because it was, the ask for me was do something different, but not too different. And it was like, oh boy.
right. Well, just to, because I know we've got to wrap up here, but the cut of that coat, how did you come up with the shape on that thing? Because he's had so many. Well, first of all, the fact that he's a baby face but dresses like this doesn't make any sense, but he makes it work. And that, I think that's part of Cody's success, is like, you look at some of the choices he makes and you're like, that can't work. That's not going to work. And he makes it work. It's like sheer force of will.
100%. Like, well, he's one of those performers who's, I'll say gimmick, but his persona and his gimmick like fuse perfectly with his personality and his talent. Like, it's just like, it's no wonder he's like the face of the company. It's like he's a force of nature. It's like perfectly in sync, you know? I didn't say this publicly because it's so nerdy, but the name of the gear is Resolute, which is, of course, partially a reference to that G.I. Joe miniseries, G.I. Joe Resolute.
Yes.
So
yeah.
For the G.I. Joe peeps out there, that's for you.
Well, and that's when I saw it, that was the first thing that popped in my head, because we've talked about Resolute a lot on the show. Not going to get into it now, but it's a landmark. Yeah. I mean, it is huge for Joe fans, and with Cody's red, white, and blue theme, when Cena had the Joe gear a few years ago, that was huge.
Yeah.
And then to see even a nod is great now. But it felt different, but it felt right. I mean, I do feel like you achieved something, and I'm glad you brought it up, because it literally just happened.
Yeah.
So it was down at the end of my list. I threw in, because I've got Ricochet, Gargano, Cedric, Apollo, Bayley, and then very, very bottom of the list, after all the New Day gear I listed, is Cody at Survivor Series. So we almost didn't make it there just because it's so recent. So his team reached out, and yeah, I mean, he has this, well, kind of like Optimus Prime. Like there's only so much you can change Optimus Prime's look, but you got to change it from time to time, but it still has to look like Optimus Prime.
It's a
very similar assignment, but yeah, that just a beautiful job. And it was exciting to see, because when I feel like everything he does is very intentional.
Yeah.
So for years, he is wearing basically the same style of jacket. The cut changes a little bit. What's not the office, Office Space, the flare changes a little bit, yes. Whether it's scale mail or whatever. But it is significant. Like if he wears a short jacket out, it's like, it's a short jacket tonight. That's interesting. And so the different cut of that jacket, like it's the Cody industry is very interesting.
It really is. It was funny. I think I submitted 8 or 10 different concepts, because it's just years of pent up, I know what I would do.
Yeah.
All at once. But I didn't do a short jacket for a very specific reason, which is I don't feel like as a newcomer I've earned that. Do you know what I mean?
That totally makes sense. Yes.
If you're the auteur of that look and it's yours, then I feel like it's your right to play with it and make big changes and make big swings like that. Just as someone who was kind of just popping in, and I hope to be invited back, but even if I'm not, I didn't feel like that's going to be my contribution, is I gave him the short jacket. It's not my place to do. Not yet.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And that 100% makes sense, because that would have been like a new manager mentality. I'm going to come in here and make my mark. Not about the aesthetics or about your vision. It's just about, nope, I got to do something big to make an impact. And I appreciate that wasn't what you went for.
I just wanted to show I can play by the rules at first,
Right.
Here's Cody, the Cody aesthetic through my lens with my specific sensibilities, and here's just what I would do. You know what I mean? Now, if I get invited back, who knows? We might go crazy. But for right now, even if I never get to do another one, I'm super proud of that. That's my contribution, and it's immortalized now, so it feels good.
Well, and you know what? It also makes sense within the context of wrestling, and specifically within the context of WWE, because isn't that what everybody does? They show that they can play ball. They show that they can follow the rules and do the thing. And then once they've proven themselves, they get to have Seinfeld gear, that's how it works. Jonathan, I've had the absolute best time talking to you today. We got to wrap this thing up. Before we go, where can we find you online? What else are you up to?
Right now, you can find me at Davenpoe on Instagram. That's my stomping grounds. That's where I show off things and give you the behind the scenes looks and some gossip here and there about all the gear that I do. That's really where you can find me. And I've got some other stuff cooking that I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but it's very exciting.
That's exciting.
And when it gets revealed, you'll be like, you worked on that? So that'll be fun.
And for anybody watching or listening, I will say again, if you can get yourself a copy of the Book of Booty, it is a pretty good visual guide to a lot of the stuff you did with New Day. So
Can I just, before we wrap, do a very quick round of show and tell?
Oh, please do. So on Audible Interlude, we call it Joe and Tell.
Joe and Tell.
That's great. We have a segment each live show we do where we'll have like, I just got this, or this is whatever. So,
so smart,
by all means, please. What do you got?
Can you have me on Audible, please? That would be great.
Yeah, 100% done.
Okay, so we were talking about Transformers.
Yes.
Then you talked about records. And so I have to show you.
Oh, yeah.
I've got my vinyl that I keep in the room.
Yes, sir.
For whenever. But I'm going to keep going. And hopefully it gets more interesting as we go back in time. Are you aware of this?
Whoa, what is that?
This is from the 80s. It's a He-Man record. It's One Long Story, part A and B.
Whoa, no.
And it even has the weirdest, most like 70s sounding theme song of all time. I'll send you a link.
That is excellent.
And then finally, to wrap up.
Oh, beautiful.
Right?
Dude, those booking records were such a big part of our childhood.
Yeah. And this is like
art in there.
G.I. Joe, like the dude, not the team.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
There you go.
That's awesome stuff, man. I love
I had to show that. No one else would appreciate this.
No, that's awesome. I love I've actually got a little pile of the smaller the Real American Hero records that they did. I've got a little pile of those over there. We will as soon as we're done, I'm going to pencil you in for Audible Interlude. We'll get you over there and we'll talk about just G.I. Joe.
Awesome.
Well, thanks a lot for coming on, man, and we will absolutely be talking again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Smash that like button if you like Needless Things.